Welcome back to Miles Off It. Today we're talking about Leicester City, the big old Foxes. Shout out to Barb Tucker, the pod mother.
AJ Wood, let me hold that beat.
All right, Michael. Leicester City. They finished 8th in the Premier League on 52 points. They had a 10-4-5 home record. Very good. 34 points plus 11 goal differential. They had a abysmal time on the road. 4-6-9, 18 points, a -8 goal difference. And then they ended the last 10 games of the Premier League 4-2-4, which wrapped up 8th for them. They got a lot of strengths. They've been a team that has been mid-table for a while now. They've done this song and dance. They've actually won the league. What are some of their strengths that they have going on for them right now?
All right, John, some of their strengths. Their midfield is very strong. A good mix of flair players and some strong defensive, tough type of players. I think the embodiment of that is Youri Tielemans. I think he does both. I think he's from basically a box-to-box guy. He can basically do it all. Then you got James Maddison, who is obviously a great center-attacking center midfielder. Barnes, more of a wide player, but still can play in that midfield. And then Dewsbury Hall as well. More of those flair, exciting type players. And then you just get to the absolute goons in the middle, the guys that are breaking ankles, the guys that are winning the ball for you. Wilfred Ndidi's been doing it. Samari's been doing it. Mendy's been doing it. And again, like I said, Youri Tielemans has been doing it as well. They got a strong midfield. Their wingbacks, they got strong wingbacks. Luke Thomas, very good player. Ryan Bertrand, not 100% sure on, but he's a good backup at the very least. And then you go to that right back position. You got James Justin. You got Ricardo Pereira, who is, I think, injured for a little bit. And then Timothy Castaigne. And then I'm pretty sure James Justin can actually play on the left side too. So you really have three guys that you could, flip-flop around in that wing-back area. The striker, obviously, Jamie Vardy getting old. We say he's getting old every single year, but he still performs every single year. The Vardy party does not end. It will never end. But then they got Patson Daka, who they brought in last year, who's a really good player. I think he's going to have a way bigger role and a better season this year. And then Kelechi Iheanacho seems to come out of nowhere and score some huge goals, for a couple games in a row. And then, as you were saying, they won the league. They have this overall sense of they've been there before, they've done it. And I think in terms of the mental game, they think that they should be knocking on the door of top 6. So when they're not performing well, it's almost like, this isn't us. We got to step up. We got to do this. And it's built-in motivation for them. I think that's a huge strength for them as well, too.
Yeah, Iheanacho, City legend that really never played. I totally agree. I think that one of the ways that I always think about Leicester is we have a tough time predicting if they're going to win, if they're going to lose, if they draw. We feel the same way about Southampton. The biggest difference is we don't know about Leicester and then they'll usually win. We don't know about Southampton and they'll usually lose. But they're in that same camp where it's kind of an enigma. We don't fully understand what's going on there. A lot of praise for a team that, if you wanted my overall take on them right now, it's kind of, like I just said, an enigma. It's also kind of what does the future hold for this team? They do have a lot of decent players that you just mentioned. None of them are barn burners. None of them are the big men anymore. I mean, Vardy is still going to get some goals. I think their best player consistently, and if he's healthy, is James Maddison. He's at least got the most upside. Tielemans probably second. But I think you and I would both agree that there are a lot of weaknesses that this team has as well. One of the weaknesses definitely is the fact that they really struggle to defend set pieces. You got to liken it to a team that's really, really good on the penalty kill in hockey is usually a pretty good team. A team that's really, really bad on the penalty kill in hockey is usually a really, really bad team. You can't just continually give up chances and give up goal-scoring opportunities when there's a dead ball, because you know that there's I'm going to pull this out of my ass. There's got to be at least 2 to 5 to maybe 8 dead ball opportunities in your half within a game. Like 2 to 8, I think, is a humongous range, but let's just go with it because that's the type of pod we got. So that's number one. Number two, thin in a few areas. You did mention a ton of dudes that they have on their team that are good. They're like quality players, but the center back position is the one that they are really, really struggling to be deep at. Fofana, good player. After that, Vestergaard, Soyuncu, Evans, best moment ever is when I realized that Man City wasn't getting Soyuncu and I realized that he wasn't that good. So if one of them go down, if Fofana goes down again, like I think they're in some trouble in the middle of the field, and that's usually where they're really, really strong. Also, we're going to get into this here in a second, but people leaving. Like, Fofana wants to leave pretty badly. It's a matter of time until Maddison and Tillmans leave. Like, you have a team in Leicester that is usually really, really good at going out and finding some diamonds in the rough, some players you don't know that much about that then can develop there and become pretty good players. Now they're a team that is kind of like in The Lion King, the dead carcass that the buzzards are going around. Like, they're waiting to get the last scraps of meat off of it. It's going to be, I guess, somewhat similar to when Mahrez and Conte got pulled off that team that won it the year that they won the league. And when those guys go, if they have no replacements for them, it could be really bad.
They're in trouble.
We could be looking at a team. Yeah, I think we could be looking at a team similarly to how I felt about Wolves the other day, where I was like, there's not much here, and if one of the pieces is gone, whether that be injury or transfer, it's a mess. I think they're in a mess. And then the last point, this could just be me being a stupid American, not understanding, the English Premier League. I don't understand how Brendan Rodgers still has his job. I think that there's been a few seasons now in a row where he has sputtered and puttered into the last week of the season. They were in the top 4 or 5 2 years ago, and then they ended up, I think, outside of Europe by the end of it. I think this is where you and I, or maybe just me, struggle as being that American sports fan, where it's like, if you're not trying to win, if you're not trying to win the championship, then low-key, like, what the fuck are you doing? Whereas, A, it's an accomplishment to get to the Premier League. There's like 17 tiers below that. B, once you're in the Premier League, if you get top 6, if you get top 5 especially, if you get top 10, like, that is the ambitions of a lot of these teams. We're not used to that. We truly aren't. Like, I don't think that's the mentality of sports here in the United States. So I think it's going to be an unpopular opinion. I think if we do get any comments on this, it'll probably be about this. But it's just like, I feel like you could get a better coach. And I just think he's kind of...
Well, I don't think you even have to look at it as, like, Brendan Rodgers isn't trying to win the Premier League. How many, like, in the last couple of years, how many times have they been in a situation where they could have gotten top 6 or gotten top 4? I don't know if top 4 was ever really there, but top 6 at least. And they, like, the last couple games, they just blow it. And
and think of it this way too: is top 4, or not top 4, top 6. Let's take Champions League out of it. Like, I don't feel like they're ever that close. They could have been. Let's take Champions League out of it. You're getting so much more money even in the Europa League than you would otherwise. That, like, if Fofana leaves, now you got that extra 10, 15, 20 million for having 2 years in a row in the Europa League to go get your guy, to go get that replacement, to go bolster the bench or bolster your youth development sooner than they do now. And look, you and I, this is like, it's kind of like Major League Baseball. Like, am I aware of everyone in the Cleveland Guardians farm system right now? No. Do I know who's playing in the under 18s, under 19s for Leicester? No. But I have to assume that, like, if I'm not hearing buzz about them on the FM forums, maybe they're not there. And that might be an idiot point of view, but who knows?
Potentially. It might be an idiot point of view. And the other thing, too, I actually don't have a stat on the set piece, but I do remember at one point during the season, the pundits, not pundits, but like the reporters, sideline reporters were like asking Brendan Rodgers, like, hey, you clearly have a set piece defending problem. What are you going to do about it? And he was almost kind of like,
No, I
he's
don't.
almost, yeah, he's almost kind of like, what do you mean? Like, I don't have a problem. I don't have a set piece problem. And then later on, he said, oh, it's our Achilles heel. So like, clearly he was like deflecting.
If you don't act like the problem's a problem, then maybe it'll go away.
It's never a problem.
All right. A lot of weaknesses. And one of the big ones that we mentioned was people leaving. If people leave, Michael, we're obviously going to have to replace them. Where should they be buying? Who should they be looking for? What players do they need to bring in?
Let's start with this, I guess. In reality, are they going to get into top 6? I think there are for sure 6 teams better than them right now, even. So then I sit there and I go, so you have to at least replace the people that you lose. And we just mentioned him. Fofana seems like he wants out like yesterday. Like he does not want to be there anymore. Mm-hmm. That's big if you lose him. I mean, that's massive. If you're taking an optimistic approach and you say, we're keeping Tielemans, we're keeping Maddison, we're keeping Fofana, okay, then I would sit there and go, you still need someone to play with Fofana because Amartey, Vestergaard, Soyuncu, I think are backups. I think Soyuncu is probably the best of them, but I think he's still a backup. Which brings me to what I love to do. I love picking defenders. I love picking a center back. And I've picked Edmund Tapsoba from Bayer Leverkusen. Would be a great partner for Fofana. And John, he is 6'4". So he is going to help you on set pieces. He's going to help heading the ball out. Going to help defending you. And then I think the other place they kind of need, if you're keeping all these guys, they need a left winger with Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes can go down at any second. He has spells where he looks incredible. He also has some spells where he just looks, okay. By Jasper Carlson from AZ Alkmaar. Is that how you say that? Alkmaar?
Dude.
Alkmaar?
Yeah, I don't know.
Ain't gonna lie, he's a left wing, right winger. We always talk about the ability to play multiple positions. You got a guy who can go on both wings for you. I don't think Jose Perez is going to be playing much longer. Sometimes they run 2 at the top, but most of the times they try to run like a 2-3-1, a 4-2-3-1. So bring in...
Not a big Mark Albrighton fan?
No, I'm not a huge Mark Albrighton fan. I don't think it's too bad of me to say that I'm not a huge fan. But yeah, I think those are some reasonable buys for them.
Yeah. The 2 that I had, and I think you're 1,000% right. Like, there's certain teams that we've done this with that we're like, all right, they need to purchase here, they need to buy here. This is the definite Achilles heel. For them, it is certainly wherever you sell someone, wherever you need someone, fill that hole. Like, there's nothing glaring right now. I mean, maybe other than goalkeeper, I do think they probably need to get something better in there. The 2 that I picked are actually 2 that they're linked with. And it's a attacking center mid, and a CDM. Hussam Awar from Awar, whatever. A lot of vowels. From Lyon, he's Algerian. It's an attacking player. He's going to play in the center, not on the wing, so not exactly a Mahrez comp, but that Algerian, connection maybe there. Bring him in. And then Ibrahim Sangar, the center defensive mid from PSV. He just looks like a big body Bez that I think can do a job and like continues that gritty nature that Leicester has had. 2 guys that they're already linked with that I don't think are bad buys. So I think they're in the right mindset, and I think that they've always been pretty decent at purchasing. But time will tell, and I do think the bell will toll for Leicester sooner than later on some of these guys getting sold, and I just kind of hope that they got something prepared. With all that said, Michael, where are you having Barb Tucker's Foxes finishing?
10th to 12th. I think they're going to lose people. I think they're not keeping all 3 of those guys. And then I think they're actually people that I don't think you replace Fofana. I think you have to if you lose him, you have to bring in 2 starting center backs, which I don't think you're going to be able to do. And if you lose Maddison, that's a ton of goals. And if you lose Tielemans, I think he might be the most important person. So I think they're going to lose at least one of them.
I think they're going to lose at least two. In typical fashion for this show, I did 11th, so I split your difference. Mm-hmm. But I actually think that we're being gracious with those. I think if these guys go, they're looking at 14. They're looking at 15. Do I think they're going to get relegated? No.
They're not going to get
relegated. They're looking at 14, 15. Yeah, I think
they're not going to get relegated.
The Foxes. There's a lot. This team will look very different maybe in January and also definitely next year, I would assume. So it'll be interesting to see if they survive and how well they play. And if Brendan Rodgers is still there. If he's still there, he's an escape artist. And he should be getting comped as a magician.
Yeah.
So, subscribe, share this, leave us some comments. The comments have been great.
I love reading
very
them.
positive. Very positive. Minus the one dude that said we had zero ball knowledge, which, that's his opinion.
Probably true, honestly. We don't know shit. Even though we've literally predicted 2 guys who signed to the teams. I mean, what do we know?
Yeah. Golly. But, we're pretty self-deprecating. We can take it.
I hate myself.
AJ Wood, let me hold that beat.